The rain hammered against the diners windows like 1,000 desperate fingers seeking shelter. Inside, Maria wiped down the same table for the third time, her mind calculating whether she could stretch her last $20 until Friday's paycheck. The electric bill was overdue, and her daughter Emma needed new shoes. The soles of her current pair were held together with duct tape and prayers. At 34, Maria had learned that life didn't care about fairness. 6 months ago, her husband had walked out, leaving behind nothing but empty promises and a mountain of debt. Now she worked double shifts at Pete's diner, her feet aching, her hope wavering, but her determination unshakable. Emma deserved better, and Maria would break herself into pieces before letting her daughter go without. The bell above the door chimed, and a man stumbled inside, drenched and shivering. His clothes were torn, face bruised, and blood trickled from a cut above his eyebrow. Most of the other customers glanced up briefly before returning to their meals, eyes sliding away from discomfort as they always did. "Please," the man rasped, leaning against the doorframe. "I need help." Pete, the owner, emerged from the kitchen, his face hardening. "No handouts here. You want food, you pay." Maria's heart clenched. She recognized desperation when she saw it. She'd stared at it in the mirror often enough. "Pete, let me handle this," she said quietly. "Maria, don't even think about it. We're not running a charity." But she was already moving toward the man, guiding him to a corner booth. Up close, she could see he was younger than she'd first thought. Maybe mid-30s, with kind eyes clouded by pain and exhaustion. "What happened?" she asked gently, grabbing a clean towel. "Mugged," he said, wincing as she dabbed at his wound. "Took everything. My phone, wallet, even my watch. I've been walking for hours, trying to find help." Maria's mind raced. $20. That was all she had until payday. $20 that needed to cover gas, milk, bread, and the copay for Emma's asthma medication. But looking at this stranger's face, she couldn't walk away. "Wait here," she said. She hurried to the counter, ignoring Pete's glare, and ordered chicken soup, a sandwich, and coffee. When Pete rang it up, $14.50, she felt her stomach drop but handed over the bills without hesitation. "You're an idiot," Pete muttered. "Probably a con artist." Maria carried the food back to the stranger, whose eyes filled with tears when he saw it. "I don't know how to thank you," he whispered. "Just eat," she said, smiling. "We all need help sometimes." As he ate, they talked. He introduced himself as David, said he was new to town for work. Maria shared bits of her own story, the struggle, the fear, the weight of single parenthood. There was something in his eyes, a deep understanding, that made her feel less alone. An hour later, David stood to leave, steadier now but still without resources. "I'll pay you back," he promised. "I swear it." "Don't worry about it," Maria said. "Just pay it forward when you can." After he left, Pete cornered her by the register, his face red with anger. "That's it, Maria. I've had enough of your bleeding heart routine. You're fired." The words hit like a physical blow. "Pete, please. I need this job. My daughter. Should have thought of that before giving away food we need to sell. Clean out your locker and get out." Maria stood in the parking lot 20 minutes later, rain mixing with her tears, unemployment stretching before her like an endless void. How would she tell Emma? How would they survive? The next 3 weeks were a nightmare. Job applications went unanswered. Bills piled up. The landlord threatened eviction. Maria sold what little jewelry she had, skipped meals to ensure Emma ate, and lay awake at night wondering if she'd made the worst mistake of her life, helping a stranger. Then, on a gray Tuesday morning, a black car pulled up outside their small apartment. A woman in an expensive suit knocked on the door. "Maria Chen?" the woman asked. "Yes. I'm Jennifer Walsh, personal assistant to David Morrison." You might know him better as the CEO of Morrison Industries. Maria's mind went blank. I'm sorry, what? The man you helped at the diner 3 weeks ago. That was Mr. Morrison. He'd been conducting undercover research on workplace conditions in service industries when he was mugged. You were the only person who showed him kindness that night. Maria leaned against the doorframe, dizzy. I don't understand. Mr. Morrison would like to meet with you. Today, if possible. 2 hours later. Maria sat in a sleek office on the 40th floor of downtown's tallest building. David, Mr. Morrison, stood by the window. Looking exactly as he had that night. Minus the bruises and torn clothes. Maria, he said, turning with a warm smile. Thank you for coming. I still don't understand what's happening, she admitted. David sat across from her, his expression earnest. That night, I was at my lowest point. Not financially, obviously, but spiritually. I'd been going undercover to understand why employee satisfaction in my company's service divisions was so poor. I wanted to experience what my workers experienced. When I was mugged, I lost everything that identified me. I became invisible. He paused, emotion flickering across his face. Dozens of people saw me that night. Dozens walked past, looked away, refused to help. Except you. You, who had every reason to protect your own resources. Who was struggling yourself, gave without hesitation. Tears pricked Maria's eyes. I just did what anyone should do. But they didn't, David said quietly. And you lost your job because of it. That's unacceptable. He slid a folder across the desk. I've purchased Pete's Diner. It's now part of Morrison Industries' community outreach program. I'd like you to manage it. Maria's hands shook as she opened the folder. Seeing a contract with a salary that would change everything for her and Emma. But there's more, David continued. I'm establishing the Maria Chin Foundation, a nonprofit that provides emergency assistance to service workers in crisis. You inspired it, and I want you to help lead it. I can't, this is too much. You can, and you will. That night, you reminded me why I started my business in the first place. Not for profit, but to help people, to create opportunities, to build community. You gave me back my purpose. Maria wiped her tears, thinking of Emma. Of the future that had seemed so bleak just hours ago. I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept. Say you'll let me pay forward what you started. She nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. 6 months later, Maria stood in the renovated diner. Now a training center for disadvantaged workers. Emma sat at the counter doing homework. Her new shoes, and so much more, no longer a worry. On the wall hung a plaque, kindness is never wasted. David visited often. No longer the billionaire CEO but a friend who understood that true wealth wasn't measured in bank accounts but in the lives we touch and the compassion we show. That rainy night, Maria had given her last $20 to a stranger. In return, she'd received something priceless, proof that goodness, even when it costs us everything, is always worth it. That one act of kindness had rippled outward, changing not just her life and David's, but hundreds of others through the foundation they built together. Some might call it luck. Maria called it grace, the kind that comes when we choose humanity over self-preservation. When we see the person instead of the inconvenience. When we give even when we have nothing left to give. And on difficult days, when the world seemed harsh and hope felt distant. She'd remember that soggy $20 bill, and she'd smile. Because she'd learned the most important lesson of all. We're never really broke when we still have kindness to give.